I'm Coach Jason Manson with Troy High School. I'd like to thank Coach Bandstra for giving me an opportunity to come in and speak today. What I was going to try to do is take a different approach, and instead of maybe just going over one particular coverage or talking about one particular position, I thought I'd go ahead and try to mix it up a little bit and take a look at coaching philosophy, really with game planning, making in-game adjustments, talk a little bit about X and O's versus scheme. Obviously, everyone talks about that. I think we can all agree that Jimmy and Joe's are probably the most important, but sometimes scheme gets overlooked a little bit. So really what I'm trying to do is just take a look and thinking outside the box, kind of getting out of default mode and looking at things differently. Sometimes it's as simple as making slight adjustments, whether somebody's alignment, or sometimes it's just walking a DB down or moving the front, etc. So hopefully I don't put you to sleep, at least early on, but we do have film, do have slides to look at. So kind of bear with me as I go through a few things. Just talk about what we do as coaches. I'm not saying it's the right way, but it's had success for us, or at least produced some success for the last few years. I know that obviously players are a big part of that as well. Coaches are a huge part of that as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Defensive staff, I feel I'm very fortunate with the guys that I have working with me. I think we push each other to get out of our comfort zone and try to develop ourselves to be better coaches. So we'll talk a little bit about that in depth as well. Film. We'll get to that. And on film, I hope that I can at least go through and show what different ways to be multiple. We try to look like we're doing the same thing, but we might be just tweaking something here or there a little bit that actually makes it different. And sometimes it's the complete opposite. Sometimes we want to make it look like we're doing something that's really out there, that's something that's kind of wild, but yet really you break it down and you strip it all down, it's actually the same thing, just with a little window dressing. So offenses aren't the only ones that can do things and put a window dressing on. Defensively, we can try to force your hand by showing you some things that aren't really there. So we'll take a look at that here. So kind of bear with me, and we will get with some film. All right, page 1 of our defensive playbook really kind of talks about our philosophy of our mission statement, okay? Trying to steal a page a little bit from the New England Patriots of do your job, So we've talked about that last year, 2019, as asking players to do their job, trusting each other as players, but also trusting as coaches that we're going to put you in a position to be successful. I know that's not always an easy pill for them to swallow. Sometimes they have an idea of what position they should be playing, where and how much they should be playing. But we sometimes as coaches disagree, and it's our job to be honest with them and explain to them what their role is. And sometimes it's as a backup, sometimes it's on special teams, sometimes it's just to be the best scout team player that you can be. And then sometimes they are a starter and they play a lot. I know in this past season we had some guys who they started 1 week and then they didn't play again for another week or two, or at least very much, because the scheme that we were going against that week, or the personnel, their skill set just didn't fit into that. And that was tough for someone to adjust to, but after a while, I think they understood that it's nothing personal, but I owe it to the team, those players, those coaches, to give them the best opportunity to win. So it's not a so-and-so is a nice person. I think I have to give it to who has earned it on the field. And obviously, as long as they're not being full off of the field, we shouldn't have a problem there. So with us, it starts with the unit. It's your position group, okay? The defensive coach, I'm speaking of defenses, I'm a defensive coach, should know his position group better than anybody. Okay, I know some people would disagree with that and feel like, well, the head coach has to know this or that and the other, or the coordinator's got to know this. The position coach spends as much time with his players as anybody does. So for me, that's where it starts at. That's your unit right there, okay? After that, we come together as a group, as a team, as defense, okay? And then we do our job to represent the team, what they ask us to do. Okay, so that's kind of our beliefs right there. I'm not going to go into detail too much with that, but if you've seen some of our film, there's some weeks we had 6 different safeties play DB this year it's played just 6 different safeties because of injury and some other issues that happened. We had to move a lot of kids around. There was times that we took a DB off the field and put in 5 defensive linemen. Okay, so I should clarify that we tried to be a 4-2-5 this past year. At times it morphed into a 4-3. They're all very similar. But basically with us, it's how you play that hang player. Okay, so some weeks it looked like a 4-2-5. The other week it looked like a 4-3. The previous season, we had a very experienced group. Okay, a lot of seniors on there, so we ended up losing 9 starters from the 2018 team, and those guys were good football players. They were a solid group of kids on and off the field, and we had a lot to replace last year, and we were kind of thin at linebacker. But we had a lot of defensive lines, so we went ahead and decided to make that switch and go to a 4-2-5 look, because we just felt that was the strength of our defense. Okay, we made an adjustment there. Okay, next year we'll have a lot of linebackers, and we still have some of those D linemen back, but the depth just wasn't there at linebacker, and we had a ton of D linemen, a lot of them actually. We were probably at least 2 deep across the front there, and really maybe 10 guys total were Friday night ready. So with that being said, what I have up on the screen now is player expectations for each position group, pretty much is what this comes down to. I've always looked at it, I'm the defensive coordinator, but even when I wasn't, before that, as a linebacker, I expect those guys to represent me. I expect them to represent the defense. Okay, when you think of a defense, there's a lot of important players, but a linebacker is kind of the heart and soul of it. So I tell them there's a big responsibility that comes with that. So a term we always use a lot is be alpha, man. Want to be the best. Expect to be the best. And if you're not, then let somebody else prove that you're not. But go out there, let it swing for the fences, man. And you shouldn't be the guy that the entire defense looks up to. And I hope that the team in general looks up to the defense. So if the game was on the line and it was either, if I had my choice to either score to win or prevent a score for the win, I would want the defense to be on the field. Okay, that's just my mentality. I think that's our mentality as defensive coaches. I think that's the defensive players' mentality too. Like, we want the opportunity to win the game. We want, when the biggest performers want to be on the biggest stage. And so hopefully the kids feel the same way. I know I do as coaches. I do as a coach, and I think the other coaches do as well. Our goal as a defense is pretty much what a lot of teams are, is to stop the run. Okay, it all starts there. We're trying to get a team one-dimensional if we can, try to get them to play left-handed if we can. So we want to stop the run. We want to try to maximize first and second down. The saying that we use a lot is win on first down, get off the field on third down. Now, we're not forgetting about second down, but that's a big setup down for us. So basically, whatever happens on first down would dictate a lot of our calls for second down. So we're really trying to set up to play for third down. So all right, well, it comes down to the question of X's and O's or Jimmy's and Joe's. My answer is both, if you can. Obviously, the easy answer, and I agree, is Jimmy's and Joe's all day long. I'll take that all day. If I can get good players, I'll take it. Good players make bad coaches look good, and bad players can make a good coach look bad real quick. So I'm not going to disagree with Jimmy and Joe's. That is the number one thing. Okay, but at the same time, I'm sure we can all agree that we won games or lost games when we had the better Jimmy's and Joe's, or we didn't, and we were still able to get the job done. So what is kind of the answer then? And a lot of times, sometimes a little luck may have went your way, but some of the times you had a good scheme that took away the best player, or maybe you were better prepared that game. So that is a part of it. I think superior Jimmy's and Joe's will let you, kind of keep your scheme simple and try to impose your will. Okay. I think a lot of people, it's funny because you guys go to clinics, and I know I've been to clinics, and it's kind of overused in my opinion. Everyone always gets up there and says, well, we just want to get lined up and play fast and not have to do a lot of thinking. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. I think we all can agree with that, right? Like, I don't know if there's any coach that gets up there and says, well, we want the players to have to think a lot. We want to slow them down a little bit. I think we can all agree that we want guys running around and being fast, but sometimes that's easier said than done when you have the better players and you can just line up and tee off. So a little bit later, when we get a chance to get in film, I did put a few clips in there of that 2018 group that I was talking about, and how we kind of imposed our will a couple times because we just had superior talent and we were able to kind of do what we wanted. And you can see that on film when you look at it. So when I was trying to pick some clips for this presentation, went back and forth from the 18 and the 19 teams, and you can see the difference of speed on film. That 18 team was a little more talented, and that's not a shot at our current team, but I think if they're being honest, that senior laden team had multi-year starters on it, and I coached a guy who was the Division II Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, an All-State guy. Obviously, you would hope that he got All-State, but there was a lot of talent on that group there, and so you could coach those guys different. And so as long as this doesn't take too long now to buzz through the clips at the end, I'll try to put that up and show where those guys could just let it go. They just let it rip. Okay. So what we're looking for is, do you have a mismatch on the field? Or is it you that has the disadvantage, or do you have the advantage? Okay. So how are you going to take advantage of that? And so with that team, we had a couple good players, but that guy one in particular, just let him go, wind him up and let him go. He played with a lot of speed. Don't make him think too much. Let him go there and create havoc. So I thought he did a good job, but you want to impose your will and impose your strengths as a player and let them do what they're good at. Okay, so that is a Jimmy and Joe thing, but your X and O's can tie into that. So I know that we've played guys that I've seen them on film. I know you guys have all been there as well. When you see them on film and you're wondering, how are they not winning more games? And when they have guys that right now would come over and probably start for you. And sometimes it's because they're not put in position to utilize their skill set. Okay. So I know I've seen some other defenses where they'll do a thing where maybe they'll rip a D lineman down in the gap, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then all of a sudden there's the team I'm thinking of, they were running a 3-3-5. And the guy out there who was left to hold the edge now was a DB, because he was a true 3-3-5. That kid looked like he weighed 165 pounds, and the pulling offensive line just came out there and just mauled that kid. His raining motor looked like buffalo stomping out a weed in the prairie. And, that's a situation where coaches can go, well, we just don't have the Jimmies and Joes. Well, you're putting them in pretty bad positions, to be honest with you. So those are things that I'm trying to maybe go over today. And we always talk about the coaches in our meeting, how can we put our guys in successful positions? How can we put them in position to be successful? So just kind of think about that sometimes. When you're asking a guy to do something that he's not good at, it doesn't mean you can't coach him up. It doesn't mean that you should quit coaching him on something that he's weak at. But at the same time, are you wasting your time or at least valuable reps and by not swimming with the current and helping that kid do what he's good at, right? So like, let's just say offensively, if you had a kid who ran a 4.5 and he weighs 165 pounds, you can work on other things with him, but I don't know that you need to be upset because he's not a very good down block, a kid that can down block very well. It's probably not what he does well. Let him run some go routes, So that's kind of what I'm implying there. And the last thing I got on the slide there is talk about, as coaches, somewhat like we're like movie directors. You're trying to put your guys in the best roles to be successful, okay? And so as I've got written up there, Chuck Norris didn't do love scenes, okay? That's just not, if you're a director, you didn't get Chuck Norris to put him in a love scene, okay? The guy chops people in the neck. That's what he does and does it well. Stick to it, okay? So just moving on here. Now, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I hear that all the time, and that's true. But sometimes, the tread gets a little worn, and you got to change the tire. How are you going to go about working to your strength? Okay, we talked a little bit about that in the Jimmy's and Joe's part. How are you going to impose your will by doing what you're good at? Okay, you want to stick to what you do well and protect your weakness at the same time. So, as I just kind of previously mentioned, don't ask your players to do what they're not good at. Okay. Where is the mismatch? Do you have one? Is there an advantage out there? Sometimes you're at the disadvantage, but where is it? Okay, what do you have to hide? Okay, sometimes you can do it with formation, alignment. What is it that you have to hide, or where can you expose your strength at, okay, and kind of go from there. So when we're game planning, those are things that we're looking at and we're talking about as coaches and how are we going to do that. Obviously, as a defensive coach, you're trying to get them one-dimensional as quick as you can. So if it's a team is really good at throwing the ball, sometimes, dare them to go ahead and run the ball. Try to take away the pass. Dare them to run the ball a little bit on you. It's not who they like to be. As coordinators, I'm sure you guys can all agree that you hate seeing a team that's good at both. Those teams that can throw really well, but they can also run it, those are the guys that give you problems. If a team's a heavy run team, sometimes, man, walk some guys, pack the box, walk some guys down in there and dare those guys to throw the ball. Now, they might. I know a couple of years ago we played Miamisburg when they were a pretty tough team. We lost to them. We went 10-2 that year, lost in the playoffs and lost in the regular season, both times to them. And they're a wing T. They got the kid over at Ohio State now, starting lineman, and another kid, I think he went down to UC. Both games, if I'm not mistaken, I know for sure the first one, but we had forced those guys to throw for more than they ran for. And they're a wing T team, if you guys didn't know that. And they did it well and did a good job. But we did our best to come up with a scheme, and we had some players that were pretty good, but they played their tails off. And we tried to make those guys play left-handed. And they actually threw the ball pretty well that game. They had a good quarterback, had a good receiver, which wing T teams most of the time do not have that combination. But they did, and they were able to win both those games. But that's something you're at least giving yourself a fighting chance. So if you can get them one-dimensional, get them to play left-handed, make them do what they're not comfortable with, at least you got an opportunity. Okay, I'm not saying you're always going to get to win, but at least you can live with that, knowing that you got them out of their comfort zone a little bit. So with that said, how do you gain the advantage? So I would like to say get out of your comfort zone, get out of default mode a little bit. We'll talk about that with film later. I'm not a real big fan of autopilot, okay? Auto checks all the time. Like, I like to dictate what the check is. So if it's a trips check, empty check, or whatever, I don't like a lot of auto checks to certain formations all the time. There's some times where it has value. There does. There's less thinking as kids. But what happens is when you get on autopilot, it gets you out of where the game's going. And that's the best part. That's my favorite part as a play caller is the game changes, okay? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the slide, but the game changes as it goes on. So when you put these plans together, you're sitting on your couch and it's 0-0, whatever, it's on a Sunday, a Monday, whatever, however you come up with your game plans, it's 0-0. Everybody feels good then, and all their plans are going to work. But as the game unfolds, play calling gets different. I think most of you will probably agree with that. On average, you probably got, it depends on if they're subbing or not, but you probably got 10, maybe 15 seconds to actually decide what you're going to run. That's both sides, offense and defense. So it's usually not a lot of opportunity to sit there and think about it forever. So you've got to decide pretty quick on what you're going to run. So I like to make the calls based off of what is the situation. And we're going to look at that on film later. Is 3rd and 1 is a lot different than 3rd and 11, right? Obviously, depending if they're in 4-down territory, but you get my point there. So with game planning, the data can be misleading, okay? Who are they really at their core? And what I mean by that is you can't always go off statistics to tell you who they are, because sometimes that stuff is skewed by who they played. They played good teams, and the stats obviously aren't jumping off the page. If they played some teams that are weaker opponents, yeah, sure, maybe they threw for a lot or they ran for a lot, okay? But you got to sometimes look deeper into it, peel back some layers, look in there. What do they do well? Who are they, okay? Sometimes their passing stats may not be that good because they don't have to throw, right? I remember looking at one team's defensive stats this year, and I looked at it and was like, it says here that they got a good pass defense, but their run defense is terrible. Well, it's because everyone's running it down their throat and beating them by 3 or 4 scores that they don't have to throw the ball on. So that's where, it's a slight example of when you look into that and you realize what's been going on. It's like you got to look deeper into what do they actually do well, okay? And is it a player or is it their scheme? Do they have one guy? Do they have 2 guys? Obviously, they don't. Hopefully, if you're a defensive coach, you hope they don't have more than one. But sometimes there's 1, 2, maybe 3 guys that are pretty good. So you got to pick your poison, who you're going to try to take out of the game here. If it's formations, I would say if it's formations, I would say look at which are the ones that are going to give you the biggest fit, okay? Hopefully your answer is not every formation that they're in is a problem for you because you're probably going to have a long night anyways. But look at the bulk of what they do their work out of. Can you match up to that? The rest of them, we used to put on kind of a default setting for some of those formations that they ran 3 times in a game. That's not really who they are. Yeah, they could do it, but if they run something 2 or 3 times in a game, it's on film, yeah, you've seen it. I'm not going to spend too much time worried about that because that's not really who they are, okay? Unless they're going to change their stripes and all of a sudden commit to that, well, that's fine, but they've had a week to practice it and prepare for it just like you. So I don't think they're going to change their stripes. Now, they may run the same scheme out of a different look, and that's what you got to look into and see. Sometimes you look into that and say, well, that's just the same play. It's just done out of this formation. So you got to look a little deeper sometimes when you're game planning. So with scheme, I would say stay the course, okay? Focus on what they're good at when you're putting your game plan together. Like I said, don't go chasing rabbits, looking at little things that they showed me this once or twice. They didn't come here to run that play once or twice. It was a gimmick play. I usually don't get caught up in chasing that stuff. Stay the course. What are they good at? What are they going to do? Sometimes they'll do you a favor if they get out of it and try to get too fancy or too cute and run something. Let them get out of it if they want, okay? Who are they? Stay the course. And I would also say with game planning is stick to you only get good at running something if you call it in a game. Okay, it always works against the scout team. It always works in practice. But sometimes you gotta stick to your decision. You practice it. Go out and run it. Okay. And the last point I'll make about that is with scrimmages. Okay, we go out in scrimmages, and sure you want to win. You want to look good in scrimmage. Of course you do. But we go out there to work on what it is we're trying to get better at. So we'll put ourselves in positions and make calls that we're probably not going to make on a Friday. But you got to see what it looks like. You got to see, can your guys come out and play? Let's just say man, for example. With this year, we scrimmaged a couple of teams that I know we would not call man coverage against and play straight man at least. But I got to see what they can do, right? You got to put them in that position now because the game doesn't count that scrimmage. I don't know any head coaches who keeps track of what their scrimmage record is. There might be one out there, but you're not hired and fired based off of your scrimmage record, okay? Friday nights is where you earn your check. And there's nothing wrong with Saturdays playing, JV games, but Friday night is what's in the paper. Okay, that's what you're going to get hired and fired over. So worry about that. Develop your guys so we stay the course during your scrimmages as well. We also want to get looks, guys, so if I stay true to the word, we're going to give you an opportunity to play yourself into a spot. So we'll play some backups and scrimmages that we probably know what the end result's going to be, but we give them an opportunity to go out and play. And I think that's all you can do as a coach. Give them a fair shake. Let them go out and play it. That's one of my downsides is 7-on-7s. I think there's good things out of 7-on-7s that you can get, but most of the time people are competing for trophies, man, and they're running things that they're not going to run in the season, or their quarterback standing there patting the ball for a while, deciding on working through his progressions. He's reading the whole field. Yet on a Friday night, you forgot there's a defensive lineman coming, to take your head off. So basically run what you're going to run and stick with it, okay? All right, so how are you going to flip the script, okay? So basically that would be if you don't have an advantage, or even if you do, how are you going to get these guys one-dimensional? Sometimes smoke and mirrors, it can be a magician's best friend, okay? That's what it says at the top. You're trying to create deception, and we do a lot of that. There's some times where at the end of the day, you're like, man, I guess that guy wasn't really that good. But we did a decent job putting him in position to be good, and it wasn't until you played a top-notch team that kind of exposed him a little bit. I think we've probably all been through that as coaches sometimes. So sometimes you got to hide a kid or protect a kid with deception, okay? Sometimes you can do it by pre-snap movement, covering up what it is you're trying to do. That's more scheme-related than player-related. But with deception, you kind of can get people to look over here and look what you're doing a little bit. And I mentioned that earlier with if you're trying to get a team one-dimensional, sometimes you have to dare them to do something else, okay? Lead them where you want them to go. So if you want a team to throw the ball and they're a good running team, sometimes you almost got to insult them a little bit by walking so many guys down the box, showing man coverage out there on the edges, dare them to throw it. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll make you look bad. But I'll live with a team doing something out of their realm and making some kid a hero who is going to probably end the year with 7 catches for 50 or 60 yards. If he has a career night, I can live with that. But the kid that's a stud, maybe he's a good running back or a good quarterback for them, I'm going to try to give that guy the night off, okay? So I always laughed when Bill Belichick told that to Ocho Cinco. It's like, are you getting doubled tonight? He told him, you got the night off. Try to take their studs out the best you can. Obviously, that's common sense. Captain Obvious is back. We all get that, but how are you going to do it? And sometimes it's to pack the box enough to take away what they're going to do and force them to throw it to a kid who's, or hand it to a kid who's, not really their top pick. In some cases, probably not the top 4 or 5 picks. I'm sure you guys can understand what I mean. So I'm going to kind of move on from that. But you guys probably coach kids where, if you're an offensive coach listening, you probably coached a kid where you don't want to give him the ball sometimes. Okay, well, I'm going to try to put you in a position where you have no option but to go ahead and throw that kid the ball. Okay, and hopefully he doesn't bounce it off his face. Or at least for you, I hope he does for us. But so that's what we're trying to do. Try to look at the strengths and weaknesses of the QB. Okay, the quarterback is important. It's not quite the NFL-driven league, but quarterbacks are still important in high school as well. He touches the ball the most. Is there an opportunity for you to make that kid uncomfortable, to get him to throw a ball somewhere where he doesn't want to throw it in a window that he can't quite see? Look at what he does. What does he do well? What does he not do well? Is he reading half the field? Does he read the whole field? Most high school quarterbacks, they teach him to read half the field, okay? They're trying to make their progressions easy. So it's usually 1, 2, 3 over here. They're reading one hang player. Most of them are not good enough or have enough time to read the entire field. Now, they'll tell you otherwise. That's what 7-on-7s will show you. But the reality is, you watch the game film, they're reading half the field, okay? So you got to look at that. What side is he reading? Obviously, you don't know where he's going to open up at, but you can get a pretty good indication by his previous film what he's going to be looking at and what their play caller likes to call. Do they have an offensive lineman that you can create a mismatch on? So I like to go down through there and circle the worst guy, and hopefully we can come after him, whether it be with blitzes or just lining the best defensive player over him, trying to make it a tough night. I like to say plan A is what we work on in practice the most. Plan B is for adjustments. So we'll go over plan B in practice a little bit. I'll usually explain to the kids, this is what we can run. This is what we might get into. And we'll at least rep it a few times so they're at least comfortable with it. If we get into plan C, now we're in trouble. We're typically off the cuff at that point. Nothing we've done has worked at this point, and we're kind of drawing in the dirt, for a lack of a better term. Okay, so hopefully you can stay away from plan C. Sometimes it does make it fun to come up with something creative at halftime or on the sidelines, but plan C is not where you want to be at. So. As I've said before, it's not 70 and sunny. Okay, I joke around about that. When OCs or DCs, for that matter, put their game plan together, it's always 70 and sunny. It's 0-0. We're having a good time. It's easy to game plan when there's no pressure. Okay, you're sitting at your couch. Maybe you got the football game on the background. You're putting your game plan together. You're texting coaches. Maybe you're at your meeting or whatever. It's easy to go ahead and game plan them when it's 0-0. But as soon as things don't go your way, or maybe the script does change and it's in your favor, your play calling changes. Okay, so the score on the clock dictates as much as anything. D&D obviously dictates some things, but like I said, score, that'll tell you what's going on with the game. I look up the clock all the time because that tells me if we're in control of the game, he's got to come to me a little bit. If I'm running out of time, whether it be the end of the first half or in the second half, I may have to come to him a little bit if they're winning. So score is as important as anything. Formation and personnel is obviously important, and we use that to make most of our calls. I get it. But sometimes by thinking of getting out of the default mode, sometimes I don't care what personnel they got over there. The clock and the score tells me they got to do something different. So I don't care if they got 10 personnel in or they got 21 personnel in or 12 personnel. They can have whatever they want in. But if they're down 2 scores and they got 1 timeout left or 2 timeouts left and into the half, and maybe we get the ball back to start the second half, if they're playing to win, they're going to come to you, okay? Because they don't want to run the risk of coming up empty and not scoring any points on that drive and then kicking the ball off with after half and going down 3 scores. Because at that point, let's say your offense marches down the field and scores. You hope they took some time off the clock. that offense may become on the opposing team's offense, may come back onto the field down 3 scores with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. All right, if you haven't lit it up at that point and scored a lot of points, the odds of you hitting a switch now, statistically, they're not in your favor. I mean, you might get it done, but man, you surely better make a great adjustment. Adjustment-wise, while I'm on that, something I didn't really realize until I kind of started putting a few things together for the presentation. We had a pretty good score in defense. We weren't bad overall, but in the second half, we were actually pretty good. So, like, I can't remember what it is in the overall, out of conference games, but in conference games, we had 8 conference games this year, and we're somewhere around 10 points a game given up. It could be 9.8 or 10.1, whatever. It's around 10 a game. But what I didn't realize until I looked at that was we only gave up 17 points in the 8 league games in the second half, and 3 was in the fourth quarter. Okay, we gave up 2 touchdowns. Let me see, one was in week 2, one was in week 9. So we had quite a big streak there where we're not giving up points in the second half, and particularly into the fourth quarter. So you're trying to win the fourth quarter. Maybe we got lucky, maybe it's luck, but I like to think some of it is we see where the fight's going, see where the game's going, and we make some adjustments. I do think we do that pretty well. Speaking of that, you usually can tell who's got to change their plan within the first few series. You can tell who's rolling and who's struggling, usually within the first few series. Every now and then it's a stalemate for a while, but after a few series, you should know if you got to jump script a little bit and get into something else, or if they're changing what they're doing. And obviously for you, hopefully they're changing, not you. On my call sheet, I always write at the very bottom, big letters. I handwrite that part. Everything else is printed, but I handwrite it in to relax, deep breath, what's going on. And the next to that is a player, is a scheme. So when we're talking on the headset, I'm asking the coaches, okay, what's going on? Are the players not doing what they're supposed to do? Obviously you're hoping we're just not talented enough, but is their technique, is it off? Are we just too high up front? Are we not aligned properly? Do we need to move a guy out a little bit, scoot him up a little bit, scoot him back, etc.? Is it scheme related? Do I just have a bad front called? Is the coverage not rolling together? So those are the questions I'm trying to ask. Okay, and hopefully we got a clear answer. If it's both, we're in trouble. But hopefully it's one of those two, and we can fix that. I got to coach them up. So if it's players, coach them up. If he can get it together, he's got to go. We've had to pull a few kids every now and then because they just weren't ready to play. If it's scheme, that's on me as a coach. That's it's our job to put us in a position to be successful. But sometimes you don't have to panic and flip out. It might just be you got to change your front a little bit. Move a shade a little bit. Have a guy instead of a 4-eye, put him as a 3. Instead of a 1, put him as a 2-eye. That could be that. It could be the coverage. Maybe they have a new wrinkle. Something that, or maybe they got a player in there that you hadn't prepared for because you missed the last couple of weeks with an injury or something. So, okay, really kind of segueing into that is don't panic yet. Okay, so most OCs are going to throw their best punch early. Okay, I mean they think about it. They've worked on it all week. They've repped it. It's their baby. They're very happy about it. So when I went back and looked at a lot of our scoring, we've given up in the first half, like I said, most of our points, and particularly probably the first quarter, but whatever. Most of the work was in the first half. And I don't know if that's on me. Maybe the scheme wasn't very good and we had to make adjustments. Maybe it is. But some of it could be that's what the offense is rehearsed. They've worked it. They threw their best punch early. Now that it's over with, it's out of the way. Settle down, relax. Okay, what is it? Because they're not going to, if it's a certain scheme, that's different. But if it's a couple things they come out with, they show you a little play they haven't ran before, they got a little motion here, that's going to play out usually pretty quick. If you can't make an adjustment over something that's a gimmick, it should play out pretty quick. If it's a scheme thing, they're just coming pounding your heads in, then you got a bigger problem there. But don't panic, stay the course. It's a long game, okay? Now, if your offense is struggling, that's going to hurt you a little bit. You're going to have to get together real quick, get some 3 and outs. But just remember, take a deep breath, relax, okay? The answers are there, okay? Weather the storm a little bit. Defenses, we're made to adapt. We're built to adapt. Okay, that's what we do. So learning how to be a counterpuncher. Okay, when I first started coaching, I always thought that, we're just going to be aggressive. We're just going to come after them all the time. And we still are aggressive, but I'm not blindly blitzing and just running around. When I first got in coaching, the defense coordinator was Gene Steinke, and he did a great job he was the first guy to tell me, he's like, now you're just blitzing just to blitz. If you blitz guys, who's there to make a tackle if they busted through the first level? And obviously, unless you got great Jimmies and Joes all the time, sometimes they stick it through those holes and somebody on the offensive line wins. Now you got a guy at the second level and there is no one there. So have a purpose when you're blitzing. Don't just send guys just to send them, okay? So he was the first guy to kind of throw that out there and kind of really made me think of that a little bit. And so I'm still aggressive as a coach, but I've learned how to be a counterpuncher. I've learned how to relax and see where they're trying to go and try to take it away from them a little bit. I think you guys would probably agree, if there's the defense coaches that are listening, the best coordinators, in my opinion, yeah, you can say the ones that impose their will, that's pretty obvious in anything. But the ones who learn how to counterpunch, as soon as you take something away, they come back with another wrinkle. They give you fits. I think we can all agree those are the guys that bother you, because you put so much time into taking something away, and then they just make a slight adjustment to it, and then they just keep running their offense a different way, a different play, a different formation, or whatever. To me, those are the guys that are really good. Obviously, that's not taking away anything from the guys who throw a lot of things out there. Those guys are phenomenal, but don't lose sight of most of those good offensive coaches and those play callers. Those guys are good counterpunchers, man. They see what it is you're doing, and they'll just make a slight adjustment to it. And we'll get to that in film in a little bit. I did put a couple clips. I won't spend all game on there, but to a team that was really good at seeing what you're doing and just use it against you. It's kind of like self-defense. They're using it against you. You're forced against you sometimes. So those play callers are pretty good. So basically, ask yourself, like I say, what are they doing? Is it something you've seen on film, or is it something you haven't seen? So if something you've seen on film and you prepared for and you're not doing very well, it's probably either A, they got better Jimmies and Joes and you're in trouble, or maybe your technique's probably not very good. You got guys playing too high, running upfield, et cetera. Just usually that's the slight adjustment there, or you just getting outplayed. Sometimes they just came to play and they're handing it to you. So you can rip into some guys and maybe adjust that a little bit. If it's the second, and if it's something you haven't seen, then you're probably the better team. They're just coming out with some new, formation, something out of their realm to do that you hadn't seen. So that's what we talked earlier about. Just kind of relax, weather the storm, look at it, see what they're doing. Is it just a little window dress and relax? Eventually that bubble will burst, okay? I mean, you got to make some adjustments, but it will burst. Just relax, okay? Strength in numbers. What I mean by that is I'm referring to the numbers. Well, obviously you can say players, and that is strength there, but I'm talking about your coaches, your coaching staff, okay? There's strength in those guys. So we're talking about really game plan related right now. Use those coaches that you have on your team, okay? I'm very fortunate that I have great coaches around me. I can admit that. I don't have to be the smartest guy around all the time, okay? I like to think I know a thing or two, but I got some really good coaches around me on both sides of the ball. There's a couple guys on the offense that are former defensive coordinators. That's a great resource to go to. On the defensive side, currently, Coach Gress is the head coach, but he's also the D-line coach. He's a phenomenal D-line coach at that. He could have got out of that position if he wanted, but he enjoys coaching, and so he wanted to keep a position, okay? And so he does a wonderful job. He's very detailed. He reps his things over and over and over, and it's a tough position working with those D-linemen. You got to ask those guys to run into a wall every play. I can hide linebackers a little bit, but those guys run into a wall every play. He does a phenomenal job with that. Coach Merker's a defensive backs coach. I think he's one of the best coaches and teachers that I've been around. I don't mean teachers in school, because that part I don't really know that he's any good at, but a teacher as a football coach. I was fortunate enough to be around some good coaches in college. I played at the University of Toledo, but there were some really good coaches that were there when I was there. My position coach was the D coordinator who became the head coach when Coach Gary Pinkel left to go to Missouri. And then other coaches that were there, the guy, Eberflus, who's the head coach of, he's the defensive coordinator of the Colts, was a phenomenal coach. You could tell he was young. He was in his 20s back then, but you could tell he was going to be a great coach. Coach Merck is right up in there, every bit of a teacher as those guys are. I've seen him develop some players who were kind of marginal players, and he made an impact. I'd say the same thing with Coach Gress. He made some guys into superstars who were kind of role players, not all of them. I'm not saying that, but if you look at it, they've done a lot with some guys who were kind of role players, and then they helped them. Some of them didn't play till their senior year, and they went out and had a phenomenal season. So look for feedback from guys like that, okay? The thing I like about those guys, they share the same passion as me, okay? They want to get better. They push me to get better. They're constantly pushing me to learn something new, do something new. So take feedback from those guys, okay? Because as I mentioned earlier, no one should know your position group better than the position coach. And so I'll argue that. I know there's some head coaches that maybe feel they're this, that, and the other, and that's great. But nobody knows the strengths and weaknesses better than the guys who spend all that time with them in practice. So take their advice, okay? When you're game planning, take their advice. Ask them what they're good at and what they're not good at. I know there's times where, I'll talk about maybe a certain front that I want to be in, and Coach Gress may, say, and he doesn't do it in a rude way, but he'll let me know if that doesn't help his guys. If a certain technique or a shade's not going to help his guys against the runs that they're running. He concentrates more on the front and the run game than he does the passes, obviously. And with Coach Merker, newly appointed pass game coordinator, because he does an excellent job, and I think he's deserving of that. We talk all the time about what will help his guys or what will not help his guys in terms of with routes, with formations. So there's times where I might say, well, I'd like to be in this or that here. And even though I may get the trump card on it, you got to put your ego aside. And he's telling you what is going to maybe not help his guys, by being in a certain coverage, they can't see certain combos very easy. Okay. So you'd be a fool not to listen to the people that know their position better than you. Okay. So don't let your ego get in the way. You don't have to be the guy who always talks. Sometimes you got to listen. Okay, and I know that can be hard for a lot of people, and especially me, but you got to put your ego aside. So game planning together and just looking through a different lens, okay? Find their strengths and maximize it and use it, okay? What are they good at? What do they do? It doesn't mean you can't ask somebody to do something they're not good at, but what are they good at? What do they do well? Then let them do it, I think fortunately with those guys that I just mentioned, they do a lot of things well. But I know in particular, Coach Merker's very creative and has been awesome with helping me together, all of us, putting together a playbook the last couple of years. We switched from a 3-4 scheme into a 4-2-5 this past year that, as I mentioned, morphed a little bit into 4-3 sometimes. We stripped down the playbook and started from scratch, and put one together. We really kind of didn't have an official playbook before. It was some stuff kind of, duct taped in there, duct taped together, but we stripped it down to the core, man, to the bones, and built it up. And we basically stripped it down again this past season and built it back up again. Now, it does take a lot of time to do that, but when you have a guy that's really good at that type of stuff, utilize it. Why not, So basically with those guys, also, I would say if you're a coordinator, do your best to help develop coaches on your staff. Help them out a little bit. Give them things to do. You're obviously trying to help your football knowledge, and you're trying to help theirs as well, but you want to keep them involved. So an example that I would use with that is this past season, I would have scripts that, they go, there's just play scripts in practice, but even if it's in two-a-days, you're not dictating everything's called. Give them a free menu to choose what they want to call, but make sure it's in what you've worked on or what you want to see installed. Okay. So for example, have another coach call, inside run, it doesn't have to be every day, but every now and then let them call it, Skelly, what we call Skelly, 7-on-7, whatever. Let the DB coach call, let the other, coaches out there call something, because you're trying to help them see what you look at and what you go through when you're putting stuff together. And they have a big part of putting that together too. I want to be clear on that. But what I mean is, you'll see how coverages and blitzes go together when you're actually the one calling them, okay? It'll help a little bit, them see where you're at, where your mind's at, and what you're trying to do. And it helps develop them as coaches, helps keep them involved, and you're helping them to grow as a coach and someday, Hopefully they don't leave you, but at some day, they'll be, probably coordinators or head coaches someday. So why not help them out a little bit? So we're almost there. The eye in the sky part. This is basically what we're going to get to film here in a little bit in slides. It's talking about adapting week to week and in-game adjustments, trips checks versus some automatics, and talk about earlier getting off autopilot. Let the situation dictate your play call also. Okay, and that should be obvious, but I'm telling you, sometimes you watch film, and I'm sure you guys have, and you'll see someone make a call, and you're asking yourself, why were they in that? It didn't make any sense. But I think a lot of that's because you're on autopilot. You're not letting the game tell you where you're at. You just wrote it down on a piece of paper when it was 0-0. Okay, it was 70 and something. So we'll look at different coverages and how we can get the same look, but they're different, but they just look the same, right? We do a lot of stuff out of too high, a lot of too high looks. And then we'll talk about some slight adjustments you can do, some tags you can make. We'll show some different variations of cover threes, a lot of them that we run. There's a couple still in the playbook that we haven't got to yet. I don't know, maybe this year we'll get them out, we'll see. And try to give yourself more than one option. So when you go to a fight, even though one coverage may be the best option, it's like a pitcher, man. You can have a good fastball, but you need to have something else to change it up a little bit and kind of keep them guessing. So we never like to go into something with just one coverage. So okay, looking at slides here, standard cover 2. I'm not going to beat the drum on this. I think a lot of you guys, if we were to pass out a sheet, everyone would probably understand play cover 2. And there's some slight wrinkles that you can do, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. But we like to start with cover 2. So even if we don't run a lot of cover 2, we like to start there. That's like a starting point for us. Okay, so everything kind of comes out of a too high look. Okay, sometimes we hold it a little longer than others. We do play some cover 2. Had a particular kid this year who wasn't very good at it. And and he showed that pretty quick that he wasn't very good at it. So we didn't call it a lot when he was in. And so that's a situation where, like I said, swim with the current, man. Like if you don't have a better option to put in than him and he's not good at it, you just may not be able to call it a lot. So unfortunately, we couldn't call a lot of cover 2 because I like cover 2. The same kid, by the way, told me that he's not good at man coverage. In fact, he told me I suck at man coverage. Well, it's like, well, you're running out of options real quick here, what you can do, what you can't. But you got to stick with it, and you got to take what you got. You sometimes don't always have a replacement handy and ready, so you just do what you got to do. So cover 2 here. Okay, we're starting here. Obviously, next I'm calling cover 4, C4, whatever. Basically, you guys understand quarters, so I'm using this as a setup to where we're going with this. So you obviously can play quarters if you want. I'm going to show how we kind of start here at cover 2, a too high look, and quarters is a nice option where our hang players are responsible for curl flat. Depending on formations is where we got to adjust a little bit at. Like I don't like to give up a soft box. So the star, yeah, he's going to use the apex between the end man and number 2 most of the time. The wolf, though, his is different. I usually don't want him out of the box unless the D&D is telling me that, okay? So, and we usually went over that, but he needs to be in the box a little bit, or at least inside foot on the outside of the tackle. That's fine, so he can get out here. So, and that's the same thing with cover 2, by the way, okay? So I'll scroll back. It's the same thing. Except he's not, in cover 2, he's not responsible for the flats. But I think you guys get my point, though, is his alignment. I'm not trying to give up this easy bubble all day long. In cover 2, we will give it up some, but we're not trying to get a 2-on-1 out here if we really don't have to. But either way, so we'll walk him out inside foot on the outside of the tackle if he's got to be displaced. This is not a bad call if you're on the hash. That part, the arrow is supposed to show you the field there, but it doesn't matter at this point. So we're a little bit better with this one on the hash than I would in the middle of the field or whatever. Okay, so the Mike's a middle hole player typically. Now, the next slides are where we're going to start making adjustments a little bit, okay? So here's standard cover 3, as I say. Standard cover 3, what I mean by that is we just simply roll a safety down. Now, we can roll him either way, so if we're sending the star, obviously he may replace him. Doesn't have to, but then you're asking your Mike to push hot here. And so that's where I'm talking about game planning scheme a little bit. What are you asking your Mike to do? If he's in here to play the run, if you got to stop the run, And that's tough to make him get hot to 2 over here. I mean, you can do it, but just kind of know where you're at and if that's what your game plan is, okay? Because most of these mics are hunters, okay? Most of you guys put your guy here with the best instincts, or maybe he's a little slow, which we have to do sometimes. Put him in here and let him play the run. Don't ask him to cover if you're blitzing this guy here. So let's just say here we're going to roll down. It looks like a 4-4 look. We got a Ricky call here. He's rolled to the right. Okay, R for right. How about that? Ricky. So anyways, so your wolf here, that's what we call the wheel backer, the wolf. So you got the star, Mike, and wolf. The wolf, if we want to send him, that's fine. If not, we're a 4-4 look, cover 3. Pretty standard. I mean, if I was to pass out, like I said, a piece of paper, have everyone write down, give me a standard version of cover 3, it probably would look like this. You can tweak it a little bit. One thing is a little bit different with us is I like to play the hang players inside leverage of 2. Okay, so I mentioned that earlier about being apex and cover 3. Okay, I know earlier it was cover 2 and 4, but even in 3, I still prefer to have them inside out of 2. Now, we have some tags. If we want to switch it, we have tags to put him on outside leverage. I know a lot of people like to run outside leverage cover 3, trying to funnel the number 2 into the safety. I get it, and that makes sense. If I was coaching in college or in NFL, I'd probably go that route as well, but I'm not. I coach in high school, and to me, I want the kid inside leverage of 2 because, A, I think it muddies the read of the quarterback. Okay, so not – and especially with everyone giving these play fakes, their little zone reads here. If the inside backers step up, which they're going to, and sure enough they will, then you get a quick hot right now, okay? So it depends on what your safety's doing. Can he drive that fast enough? Probably not if he's in a deep back pedal. So for me, I personally like to have them inside out because I tell them get hands on 2, eyes to 1, okay? So for me, that works. If you want to run it different, I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. I understand if I was in college and had better athletes, I'd probably coach it the other way. But I know Nick Saban does. You guys all like clinics. Nick Saban, he coaches his outside shaker. That's great. I don't. I want to take it away. But we do have tags if we want to make that adjustment to make him outside leverage. So nothing is set in stone. So I talked about that earlier about getting out of autopilot and default settings. You can change it with just a simple tag. You run cover 3, but put a tag in that tells him line up outside the funnel. So, all right, let's move on. Here's standard cover 3 to trips. Now, I'm going to segue this into everything else. So if they were in 2x2 and either they motioned over or they lined up in it, we just got the safeties railroading here, okay? So safety's going to roll out in our standard version, the safety's going to roll out over 2. That lets the hang player, the star in this case, stay inside of 3, okay? So he's hook curl, safety's curl flat, corner's deep third. That's pretty standard. I don't think any of that's getting out there yet with anything creative. But as I mentioned earlier, we like to change it up a lot to make it look like we're doing something different. So sometimes we'll do this out of a 2-high look, have the safety roll down late. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just want to line him up. It depends on your player. Can he roll late? Good. Some guys are not very good at coming downhill fast while receivers run at them really fast. If that's the case, that's fine. Then walk him down, let him line up there. So we vary it based off of, our player skill set. What can they do and what can they not do very well? We talked about that kind of earlier. So, all right, here, we don't actually call it buzz, but I know that Saban and some other people do, so we'll stick with their terminology and keep our playbook out of this. Buzz, okay, we're just having the safety, instead of rolling out curl flat here and driving the outs, we'll just go ahead and switch it and let him drive down here and catch 3. Okay, so you can say he's hook if you want, hook curl if you want to say that, whatever. But he's going to try to come down here and try to catch 3 if he can. And your star is now out apex between 2 and 3, and he's pushing curl flat. So maybe he's going to catch 2, hands on 2, eyes to 1. So it's really nothing different than he's always done, right? So if I was able to slide back up here to a standard cover 3, you look here, he's hands on 2, eyes to 1. Okay, that's what he does every day of the week, right? Curl flat dropper, all your hang players do it, right? So here, same thing. You've essentially removed 3 from his problem. He's hands on 2, eyes to 1. So same thing. Nothing's changed. So that's the biggest thing I want to say is we do a lot of things, and it may, from an outsider's perspective, may seem like we're doing a lot, Really not. Nothing has changed. If you look at these clips that I just showed you here, I'll go back, okay? Look at everyone else's drops. They're still the same. Now, granted, I haven't blitzed anyone yet, but all their drops essentially the same. Don't let these lines distract you. The safeties are just rotating over. You're still deep third, okay? Technically, you could say this guy's curl flat if you want. We usually put this guy on what we call a bandit call. Bob's both backers, two Bs. Bob call. They're sharing the back. He goes this way. The Mike's got him. A bandit call. It means one of you guys have it. So you're locked in. So if he was on this side, the Mike may have a bandit. He's here. The Wolf's got it. So if he peels or releases, which there is some filming out later where he releases out, the Wolf picks him up. That guy was actually pretty good about remembering his bandit calls because every now and then some guys forgot that. So anyways, okay, so there's Buzz again. Like I say, it doesn't change, but only for one or two guys, right? It doesn't change anything with the fronts. It doesn't change anything with these players right here. So basically, Buzz, you get the point, okay? It's the same thing as the standard cover three, except the hang player and the safety are exchanging responsibilities, okay? All right, 3 robber, very similar, except typically the safety's robbing. He's coming down in here. You want to replace a blitzer, obviously. If not, you're going to have the Mike in the way. You're going to have the Wolf. So sometimes we'll send one or both of these guys, depending on what personnel's in there. Depends on what blitz we call with this. Would depend on the personnel if we want to send one guy or send both. But here's your robber. So once again, so driving down, catching 3, he's just rolling inside where you're not going to have a player. So I should have this where a guy's gone. I do have some film clips of robber, which we'll put in. We'll go over that. So once again, though, if you look, it's cover 3. Everyone's doing the same thing that they've always done. So there's no new coaching that really needs to really be done except for maybe one guy here or there, okay? So these guys up here, they're just running a blitz, for example. You're probably not going to blitz him with this setting here. But anyways, so this guy's blitzing. Okay, he's just rolling inside. That's it. You're catching 3. Now you're catching over the middle, okay? We'll have a trips check next here. This will be robber to trips. Now, you could bring the front side safety and rob, but typically you want to come backside. It just makes it easier because he's not in the vision of the quarterback typically. He's reading front side most of the time. So I think I have some films clips up that I can't remember if it's he almost gets a pick, or it might be the inside backer dropping that almost gets one because the quarterback doesn't see him. And he's looking at the crosser coming here. So we'll have to find out later. But you're getting the point, though. Still cover 3. Deep third, curl flat. Somebody's got to push here to catch 3. It's probably going to be your robber. And that's a great opportunity if he's good at it to get in there. You're going to see on film, we walk down and show it too quick, I think. I like to do it after the snap. But sometimes we had a kid walk down before the snap, a little too early in my opinion. Here's 3 cloud, okay? Now, this is against a 2x2 set, which I'm going to show you trips here in a second. Obviously, this is just standard cover 2, okay? Not a big deal. They play that a million times. Not a big deal. On this side over here, it's 3 cloud. They're just playing cover 3, right? Backside third, rolling to the middle third. Here's my curl flat guy. Once again, he's done a curl flat drop a million times in his life. It's not a big deal, right? So when you throw out all these coverages, everyone kind of starts to panic a little bit and assume that you're putting all this stuff out there for the kids. It's not. It's really not that difficult, okay? It's stuff they've done. They just got to know what to listen for. All right, here's 3 cloud to trips. Okay, we run this a lot to trips, but it's not the only thing we run. We run it a lot of times, we'll mix it up each week. If we've shown it for a couple weeks, then we'll get it off the script and just come back to it later. But also, what do they like to run? Do they run a lot of bubbles? Do they run a lot of hitches? It's nice against that, but once again, the down and distance or the time in the game will tell you what to run, okay? So, for example, if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, clouds are great call. And even, 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 5 or whatever, but if it's 3rd and 12, why do you need to be squatting on a bubble route here? Okay, why do you need to jump the bubble? I hope they throw it. And as long as you're a decent tackler, you got to come up and get him before he gets 10, 11, 12 yards, right? So let the D&D tell you what to do. Or also the game clock, as I mentioned, if you're ahead in a game, okay, they got to come to you. They got to drive the field. Coordinators always say that, yeah, we'll take the 5 yards. Yeah, we'll take the 7, whatever. That's easy to say when you're in the red zone or you're at the 50 and it's 0-0. You're down 2 scores we talked about earlier, and you got to drive the field. You're at the opposite 30. You got to come to me. So we may stay deep. We may play a version of cover 6 or something like that. But you got to come to me in that situation. So on paper, a 0-0 score, they'll tell you what they'll do. But cloud's a great game time decision or in-game adjustment to make. Sometimes you get in it, sometimes you get out of it. We adjust during the game. Sometimes we didn't plan on running as much cloud, and we ended up calling it a lot. What are they calling? What are they hurting us with? Okay, as I mentioned, cover 6, and, quarter, half. Some people call it whatever. We're basically playing quarters on the front and 2 on the back, but you can adjust this to make it what you want. Okay, so you can have this safety. He can cut. He can play like a robber type technique. He can help cut under 1 here. He can play over top. Obviously, his general alignment, he's eyeing 3. So 3 comes vertical, and I got some slides I'll show next. But he's, that's common. Everyone kind of does that in their cover 6 stuff. He's going to go with 3. So if they would happen to run 3 verts, he's typically going to carry 3. But you can do it other ways. Like I said, you can make this guy, maybe if 3 runs a crossing route, maybe he cuts him, maybe he drives him, maybe he stays deep, depending on what the situation is. So you have tags to make it what you're looking for, okay? Whether it be the game plan for the entire week or just in-game adjustments. You also can put a tag with this star, this hang player, make him carry somebody vertical. So if he gets a vert by 3, make him carry. We'll move this guy around depending on what we're running, and plus sometimes it's an in-game adjustment, sometimes it's a week adjustment. So for example, I'm going to go back, the 3 cloud. I like to put him inside of 3. Sometimes we'll have him start there and then creep over here inside 2 and 3. But I really don't need him in between 2 and 3 because the corner has got the flats out here. So I like to let him hang on 3 and discourage this quick hop real quick here. Okay, I got help over top. Now we'll move him around as the game goes on. We've done that after halftime. Maybe we'll come out and say, now go in between 2 and 3, whatever. Here, if he's curl flat, I don't like to hang up on 3 too long. And you can stay there a little, but you got to make sure he understands. Don't mess with 3 I'm big about getting hands-on receivers, but you can't mess with this dude very long. Push out here. Your curl flat, you got to push out here quickly. Okay. A couple diagrams here. Here is what I was talking about. Standard. Okay, he went vertical, backside safety mat. That's what everyone kind of does. This is kind of a good concept against. With trips, this one's a kind of tough one for a cover 6 here because this guy wants sometimes to drive this and they throw that little smash route over top of you there, the corner over top. So this is how, I guess, in a perfect world, it's going to match up. But you see this guy here, why it's nice to get away from 3, get here so you can drive 1. Okay, hands on 2, eyes to 1. All right, on the back side, because he got a vertical, he's going to have to get over top. So you're on your own. You can get a little help underneath if you want here. Here's a change up to it. You can tell him cut if you want. You can let him stay deep. You can have him drive these crossings, just shallow crosses. Here's one a little deeper. You can drive him if you want or let him stay over top. But, playing like a true 2 over here. So you can make it your own. Get out of the, I have to do it this way world. Okay, just because somebody else does it at their school or you heard somebody at the clinic say this is the way to do it, it doesn't matter. Think outside the box a little bit and make this your own, okay? Yeah. All right, we're going to take a look at some film here. This is from a playoff game, second round of a playoff game in 18. As I mentioned, that group that was pretty good. We won't watch a ton of this game film here, but just want to talk about some adjustments that we made. So I'm going to get out of it here and make a big screen, okay? With this, against this, these guys would bring in different personnel and packages. They were either 10 personnel, and they'd be 4 and 5 wide, or all of a sudden they'd bring in either a 6th offensive lineman or 2 tight ends. So they kind of kept you on your toes. So basically we had a nickel package and a base package. So here we're in nickel, and what I want to highlight at the top here is the nickel is in between 2 and 3, okay? And eventually you're going to see an adjustment. So the point of this is about adjustments later, especially when we start going to the base. I prefer to have the outside backers in between 3 here, okay? And I'm going to show you why once we get into it. Now, these guys, this is when we're a 3-4 scheme. So this is an outside backer. This is a nickel guy for coverage, okay? These are 2 inside backers, but we can't stretch them too much because these guys are looking for numbers in the box. So they see you with 5 in the box, they're going to run it, okay? So we're going to buzz down through some clips and show you a few things that gave us problems. And And we made some adjustments as the game went on. Okay, now we get lucky here because this is incomplete, but in a little bit they're going to give us problems. But what they're looking for, I mentioned earlier, coaches that are good counter punchers. These guys are looking at your alignment, okay? So they want to see where this guy is in terms of what they run. So later they realize where we're at, so they start running jail breaks inside with 2 so they can block him with 3. Once we make that adjustment later, you'll see it on clips. I'll buzz down through some where we put the outside backer here. Okay, then they start running everything out, bubbling out, kind of what they're doing right here, but you'll understand it once you see it. So let's go ahead and get through some film. Okay, we get lucky here. Here they come, single receiver side. We're playing games here at the bottom. Players are pretty good players. The guy here, number 5. This is a tackle, but he's pretty quick, okay? So he makes some good plays at time. He'll miss a few. He was the guy I was telling you was the Division II Defensive Player of the Year in 18. Okay, here you go. Here's the situation here. We got caught in substitution. They brought in their heavy package. We were calling it Rhino. So what you're looking at is we have nickel in, okay? We took an outside backer and made him a D end, okay, in the nickel package. Okay, so we took a D lineman actually off the field. Well, by us not having this, we should have another player standing right here, okay? So we got a corner who's about to take some real shrapnel. Now, I think it was the right guard went to Notre Dame. So you don't want a 165-pound corner up against a kid that's going to Notre Dame. And this is kind of what happens. And they make us pay for it. You'll see the adjustment later in the game. We get our heads out of our backside and what we're doing. Yeah, I think that's the guy there, 75. It's pretty good. We're looking from the backside. You're going to lose that battle. You can blame it on Jimmy's and Joe's, but if you got a corner out there taking on a pulling lineman from Notre Dame or that's going to Notre Dame, good luck. All right. Here's that formation. Let's see if we actually got, I think we went back to base personnel. So here we go. So you'll see now we've got the regular D lineman in. We got an outside backer here where he should be. Now later they do a nice job with this guy comes out a little wider and he doesn't adjust and he loses the edge, but we still do a pretty decent job. So that's what all I'm trying to talk about is in-game adjustments. It was kind of an error on our side, but you know, you got to see what's out there. Played by the backer. This was the group I was telling that these guys could run, man. They were fast. There's some athletes in this group. All right, here they are in empty. I want to say we cloud this. Yeah, we do. I don't think we do the best job here. And actually, we didn't cloud it. It's the nickel that's jumping that. All right, so here's going to be a slip. This is what I was talking about here. Now we get lucky. The inside backer was a hell of a player here. He had about 20 tackles in this game. Okay, but here's what I'm talking about. If you look up top, the nickel, I don't like his leverage. He's in between 2 and 3, and I think you're inviting this block. Now, once we adjust later in the game, you'll see some clips. They'll start running it away from him, but at least you're running to the sideline. You know, you're kind of running out of real estate out there. This little slip is a pretty tough one, man. Luckily, that guy made that play, but here in a little bit, he doesn't. Okay, once again, they just subbed their package. It's probably the same drive. They subbed their package. See how we're aligned if we're a little better. We're at a nickel. Got the guys in we should. We at least have a fighting chance. I personally don't like the too high look here. I'd rather have a safety sitting right here. Okay, this formation, they didn't throw a lot. They did throw some, but they didn't throw a lot. That's a slight adjustment, but different day. Okay, take a look at the adjustment here. So here, just showing you a little different way we did it. We went ahead and just rolled 3. So we got out of the too high look, rolled 3. Sometimes you got to get out of your your game plan of a too high look against these guys. The reason we were concerned about too high is because they could take the top off too. These guys are pretty good team. Okay, now we don't have an edge here, so personally, I think the front should probably be kicked this way right here. Okay, so that's part of the problem. Let's do that pretty quick. Okay, get off blocks, make play. We start to adjust when we get more guys in the box. That's common sense, right? Okay, almost had them here by moving guys around. We talked about smash and some other things here. This is a standard cover 3, okay? The safety is rolling out to 2. I got a hang player who's supposed to be inside of 3, but he's kind of playing a game. We call that jokering around. He's jokering, showing blitz, because most of the time he was coming. Okay. Give him something different to look, a little window dressing, right? This one is the outside backer wants to push to 2. He loses sight of him. He's staring at the quarterback and loses sight of his guy. And the inside backer is pushing to 3. Okay, here they're going to run another quick. You can see it's a slight adjustment. I mean, they still get some yards here, but my point is we got an outside backer now in between 3. Okay, just a different look. I mean, these guys are well coached. They do a nice job, but you kind of can see 2 is kind of waiting on my guy. He probably should be a little quicker. I want that safety coming downhill a little bit faster to make a play. But at least you can see where we're kind of playing the cat and mouse game, making some adjustments. Here we are in between 3 again. And even though they get some yards here, I still think we're playing it, I think, a little better by being inside leverage at 3. But you know, you can make an argument. I don't like what the safety's doing right there. He's come downhill. Empty. Yeah, we'll get through that. I didn't want to lie to you. I told you about having Jimmys and Joes, right? Here's that same group in 18. So I showed you a playoff game against a team that's probably a little bit better than we were. Here's a game where Jimmys and Joes, man. We just got the better team. Here they actually got a good play. Our outside guy gets hooked. Shouldn't, but watch the inside backer. These guys aren't supposed to run jets down like this, man. But that dude can run. He was at least probably high 4.5, maybe 4.6 flat guy. He could run. You see the front there, just imposing our will. Did he pull this right guard, and they're expecting the right tackle to cut off our guy here, the deep tackle. The guy was pretty good. He used to be an outside backer, too much weight, but he was a heck of a D lineman. Okay, that's the Jimmys and Joes. What I'm talking about. You can just kind of do what you want. You got guys running around doing whatever. It's not necessarily meant to be a shot. These guys have some decent scheme stuff. It's just sometimes all that's out the window. Here's the same play, I think, or now they run that jet a couple times. Let me see what they do here. Speed it up, will you? Yeah, they're going to give it to him. They're going to give it another shot. They run that a few times. I don't know if they ever got outside, but they're at least giving a shot. A for effort. Okay, it's not a lot there. I think we put that running clock on there, but that's well, my whole point of this is you got Jimmys and Joes, man. You kind of just do what you want and just call what you want. So I showed you a playoff game where we probably didn't have a good talent, probably equal, but they had a good scheme. Here we're just kind of lining up doing whatever we want to do. So I think we've got a few clips in there, and then we're going to get on to, you can see the speed of some of these guys that we have here. This group, like I said, these dudes could run. Fast feet and violent hands, man. These guys can play. Maybe a couple more and we'll get out of here and go looking at some other stuff. Okay, as we're looking there, I'll find my next clips to go to. Keep working, kid. So, but my whole point of this is you want to wind these guys up and just let them go. Okay, you know what I mean? Don't overthink it when you have the Jimmys and Joes. That's my whole point of this. When you got the Jimmys and Joes, let them go. Okay. Here they run this into the bounds. It looks like they're in Wildcat. I don't know what they're thinking here, but either way, that's fine. Let's get out of this one and go to another. I just wanted to show you how much easier it is when you got the Jimmy's and Joe's. Just kind of do what you want to do. Look out. I'll skip past this team here. That's nice, guys. Now, we'll show you Cloud. It's 3rd and 1. We talked about that earlier, don't we? I don't mind my notes. 3rd and 1. Talk about a good coverage here. It's 3rd and 1 against Cloud. I know Coach Derry likes Cloud. So I'll throw him one in here. It's a TFL on 3rd and 1. Okay, so know the down and distance, know the game where you're at. It's the next film here. Sorry about that. Okay, here's a team. I think their quarterback was hurt or something, and he just wasn't himself, so we were trying to dare this dude to throw. But here we're playing cover 3. We're just rolled down, packing the box, trying to dare these guys to throw the ball. More hats to the ball. Like I said, dare them to throw the ball. We're walked up. We're kind of thumbing our nose here a little bit, trying to make these guys throw. Here's a good coaching point for this guy here, is I like to coach the hang players here. Just stay. You're an RPO threat. Back your side, you're an RPO threat. He goes away, just stay. You're a tuck and fold player anyways. You don't need to be in there at all. You should actually be sinking and settling under the number 1 here running that slant. Okay? So that's a good coaching point there. You got back your side, you're an RPO alert. He goes away, just stay. Okay? Nice job with the corner. Here's cover 3. I believe we're in 3. I'll run this back. No, actually I lied. It's a too high. That's the safety there. And there's my hang player. We'll buzz through a couple of these. There's some good coaching. I think the next section I got is a lot of clips, but I won't make you sit through them all. But I'll only show you some different coverages that I showed you on the slide there. Okay. I think this might be the last one of this group here, maybe. Okay, here's the coaching point here. When they're in bunch, and we'll do a few different things, but a lot of times I'll tell you guys to be patient and wait on these guys here. This kid doesn't need to open up. See that little hop in the step? Just be patient. He should be boxer bouncing anyway, waiting on this kid here. Don't let him inside. Inside out leverage. Okay, it looks like we're in a form of Cloud. Corner jumps out. He's got him. Okay, backside safety's lurking here. Okay. Make that play. I think that's the last clip of this team, and then we're on to another here. Okay, it's cover 3. I don't think they wanted to throw it much because this kid, I don't know if he had bad ribs or what was the matter with him, but he was limited on his throwing motions. Pack the box, dare him to throw. All right. Okay, moving on to a new team here. This group here, they do a nice job. The reason I picked this group is because we ran so many different coverages against them. They got a lot of different personnel. Well, not really different personnel, but different formation. They'll come out 2x2, 3x1. They changed it up a little bit and brought some tight ends in. So got some coverage. I'll try to buzz down through these, and I think I just want to show you how you can look similar but do something a little different. Yeah, got notes on here. All right. I erased all those. I apologize. Okay. Right here, we're starting off cover 6. We're Cloud. We're not clouding, playing cover 6. Okay. Here we're in Cloud. Watch the corner up top. I'm not saying he does a great job, but his guy comes up, he's checking him, and he starts yelling. I'm not saying it's the best work, but I'm just trying to show you it looks like the play right before that we started off in cover 6, the trips. Now we just played Cloud. It's a little short, 2nd, 7. That's break down to play Cloud. This one's cover 3. You've gone it. We'll be all right. Cover 3, we rolled down. It's a 2x2 set. Here's your star. Safeties, I believe, should roll late here. Where is he coming? There he comes. There he comes. Get down in there. So we're kind of rolling late. We talked about earlier showing too high looks. Roll late. Okay. All right. All right. Down here, we're playing zero. You know why I had this clip in. I think it's an overload blitz, not the look. Yeah. We're playing zero here. We're overloading. You'll see it more from the end zone camera. Okay, what we're trying to do here, this guy, we're in man coverage anyways. He's got him. He's got the back. We're zero high here. We're going to try to overload here. So he's A gap. Both these knuckleheads are through the B. He's off the edge here. You'll see it kind of open up a little bit. He's got the edge. He's got this A gap. This guy's got this B gap here. Okay. Now, in fairness to this team, they do catch us. I believe it's this game. They catch us later. We're on a zero blitz like that, and I've got the front in a wrong shade, and the guy gets pinned. He gets down blocked and doesn't get there. So, all right, here's another blitz here. We're hitting the B gaps. Coaching point here is hit it faster. This kid here led us in tackles. This linebacker, 41, but he's just a sophomore. We starting 2 sophomores. That linebacker. We just need to learn to hit that quicker, hit that harder. That's incomplete. Get out of there. I guess I'll let you watch from the end zone view. He needs to time this up a little bit faster. Hit that thing, okay? All right. All right, this is Robert here. We talked about that. We need to be blitzing this guy, but he's not, okay? So it's cover 3. It should go on the slide. It's cover 3. It's nothing new, okay? My curl flat guy, deep third guy, I need him robbing down inside of here, but then Mike doesn't blitz. You can see the one kid's telling him right there. Telling him to blitz. Don't lose the edge. How about that? A couple of these D linemen drove me crazy this year. They want to come underneath everything and give up the edge. Got to remedy that for next year. Okay. This one here, I believe, is a smash. A buzz. Okay. So we talked about that earlier with the clip. Rather than putting the outside backer inside of 3, we're just bringing the safety down. I'd rather him do it after the snap, but he walks down a little ahead of time. That's fine. Okay. I'll just get my sheet up here so I can see what's coming up here. We're on 45. Okay, this right here is also buzz. He just walks down a little early, but you can see it doesn't really change anything. Throw backside. Okay, this one here is cloud. So we're trying to make things look somewhat similar. Cloud's usually out of the too high. Okay, but we want it to look like cover 6, look like cover 4, look like cover 2. Okay. Let's be on here, 49. So, all right. This one here is a cover 6 here. I need this guy to bang this guy and carry. So at the top, you see the outside backer, the star, the hang player. He's bang this guy. It's a good job of rerouting him, but banging and carrying, he's staring at the quarterback. And he's a sophomore as well, so that's what happens. When you get sophomores to do this stuff, you're going to be a good football player, but don't stare at the quarterback. Look at your guy, man. Get hands on your guy, okay? You should go a little more depth with that. That's all right. But you can also see crosser here. Yeah, that Mike almost jumped him. Okay, that's a concept you're going to see. I think they might come back to that in a little bit here. It's a good route, but don't jump shallow because there's something behind you, right? So just touch it all the time. Okay, right here we're in cover 6, I believe. Let me see it. Okay, this is the one I was talking about, a bandit call by the Wolf. And he doesn't play that great. His man coverage ain't that great, but at least he's aware that I have to take the back here, right? So we're playing cover 6 here. Okay, quarters on the front side or the trip side. Cover 2 on the back side. We'll give a bandit call. I mean, it's an automatic for him, and you got to back out. He knows that. Okay. Get lucky there, overthrown ball, pick. All right, this right here is 16, because that's that clip. We don't need to see it. All right, we're in cover 2 here. Hope my script doesn't lie to me. Put it together kind of quick. All right. I don't like letting this guy inside of you here. Okay. Cover 2, you can't let this guy release inside. I don't like this. We're always inside out leverage. Just be patient and wait on him. Okay. He probably stacked. He's not really stacked that bad there, but I don't like his alignment. Okay, this is cover 3, standard cover 3, cover 2. We looked at earlier, and just hit a hitch here. Probably need to do a better job getting hands on. The strong safety seem like they never want to get hands on. Driving, buddy. You had him. All right, this one here is Buzz. Okay. Now this isn't terrible. I don't like how the safety just let this guy go right across his face. Once again, safety don't want to tax anybody. Okay, that bothers me. But what I'm looking at here is this crosser here, okay? The backside corner, he was locked in. His adjustment that week was man on the backside, okay? You see the outside backer, by the way, take another bandit call there. He probably could have let this kid go, but we told him to play man, so he went with man on the backside. But sometimes you can mix it up where let him run. He's running into his zone, right? So you don't actually have to run with this guy unless he comes vertical. But that's an adjustment, so it's what it is. Let's say you can adjust this game week. It isn't gospel. Do what works for you. All right, here we are. Looks like a cover 3. Got a roll there. We'll put my own 103 on it. Yep. Okay, so we're just rolling the trips here, okay? So we don't have to cloud it. We don't have to cover 6. We're just playing cover 3. Make a play. Okay, this one I didn't think I had it in here, so I apologize. All right, he missed it either way, so it looks like we're in a too high look from what I can see versus cover 2. Make a play. Hit you in the hands, make a play. And we'll look at the end zone view. Kid here specialized more against the run. He was a heavier fella. A little better against the run. We talked about earlier, I believe, saying that sometimes these quarterbacks are reading one side. They're not taught to read the whole field. They don't see this guy coming right here. Okay, he had some hands. He did get a pick later the next week, I think, but he had some hands. He probably would have come up with that. All right, this one here, we're almost done. This one here, we're playing cover 6. Can't blame the hang player. He's got curl flat. He's got to go. I probably need this mic to push to this guy coming in, but it is what it is. He needs to get out there, overthrow, get in the end zone. There you go. Celebrate with your friends. All right, a few more clear. I got 3 more to go here. We're going to looks like cover 2. That. I'd like to see this a linebacker get hands on. We'll take a sack, though. I think if you look at it through the end zone view, this kid is just a big boy. He just, we talk Jimmy's and Joe's a little bit. Some of these guys kind of thin in the pants here. And this dude right here is just a hoss. He's a big boy. He played really well. It splits the double team, and it is what it is. Once again, the reason I got this team's film up so much is just because we played so many different coverage. I thought it was the best way to kind of give you guys some film of different looks that we did. We put a lot of different looks in. Okay, this one here, once again, my man missed another pick. 2 or 3 hit him in the hands this game. But you can see the quarterbacks are taught to read half the field, right? They'll tell you they're not, but they're going to read half the field. You got to find which half, but he doesn't see the mic coming from the backside. Okay, we got pressure coming. We got a wolf blitz here. He's coming, and he doesn't see. He thinks the guy's uncovered. Okay, we talked about it playing games. We're in a too high look. Get under there, big fella. Make that play. Okay, last clip here. I think it's the last one I got. Was that? That was the last one. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate it, guys. I know we got a little bit long in the clips there. I know everyone enjoys watching film, so hopefully you found something that you like, a way to get better. Hopefully not scheming me, but as coaches, that's what we're trying to do, is push people to get better, push people to grow. feel free to reach out on Twitter. It's Coach at JMan on Twitter. So you can always reach out. Jason Manson with Troy High School. I'm always happy to help. I'll probably keep a few things to our vest, but for the most part, there's really not that much to hide. So if you guys want to talk football, I'm always down for it. Maybe I can learn something from you. Maybe I can give you something. Appreciate your time. Definitely appreciate Coach Bandstra giving me an opportunity to speak today. I think what he's doing is great, giving coaches a platform to kind of get out there and get some practice and get to know each other a little bit. I think he's doing a great job. I like what the staff's doing over there. They've all got a lot of energy. I think they're doing good things. So once again, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. If you ever need anything, reach out, let me know. Be good. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.